Yes, and we are live. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. We have a very special speaker here today, and I'll quickly jump into the introduction for Amanda. Amanda drives the communications and community strategy for the App Exchange at Salesforce. She's a conference speaker, a published author, and a social media professor. Amanda has worked in content marketing, social media, and community marketing for B2B tech startups and Salesforce for the past 9 years. Prior to that, Amanda worked with brands such as IKEA, Atlantic Records, Twinnings Tea, etc. And in addition to marketing, she's very passionate about writing, running, and border collies. In today's chat, we'll have a quick discussion about customer marketing. Customer marketing as a function is coming up exponentially in SaaS companies, especially across geographies, because customer lifetime value is increasing. People are kind of recognizing having what it means to have bigger ticket customers intact and what churn looks like, the kind of demerits of having a lot of churn, etc. Hence this session. And I think Amanda is the perfect person to kind of take us through these questions. I have a couple of questions prepared at my end, but it'd be lovely to kind of know a little bit more about customer marketing and what you do at Salesforce at your end. And then we can dive into the questions, the set that I have, and if there are a couple of more that come through our audience as well.
Great. Well, first, I want to say thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here today. And thank you all for joining. I hope you are all interested in customer marketing. There's so many great sessions today. So I'm honored to speak about this topic. I've been doing content marketing and social marketing for about 9 years at Salesforce. And what I'm really excited about is the shift that brands are taking, where they're really focusing on the customer, more so in some cases than the prospect. And that's because customers are more likely to stay customers and to do more with you than to get a brand new customer. But in addition to that, if you can develop a strong community of customers who love and value you and help each other, you're just going to grow the value of your brand overall and create that type of brand that people never want to leave and they always want to be a part of. So I think that's super important.
Absolutely. Totally agree. Let's dive into the kind of couple of questions that I had in mind. These are things that I wanted to know as well, and these are a couple of questions that have been coming up whenever I have conversations with SaaS marketers and founders alike. The first one is: at what stage for a SaaS company does customer marketing make most sense? When is it a good time to start a customer marketing as a function, or as a separate entity altogether within your marketing strategy?
It starts at the way beginning. As soon as you get that first customer, it's time to turn on customer marketing. And that's because the customers are so important. They should be at the center of everything that you do. And you can start customer marketing with listening over pushing messages. So the most important thing is to listen to your customers. I like to say we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. It's all about listening and understanding who your customers are, what their pain points are, and how you can help them with your product or service. That is super valuable. So yeah, customer marketing starts at the way beginning. And customer marketing should be something you work into your plan. Just like you're coming up with your journey for prospects and for lead generation, come up with your journey for the customer. What are the phases that they go through in their life with you and your brand, so that you're able to support them with content and messaging that makes sense to them at the right place at the right time.
Absolutely, that makes a lot of sense. I think while we look at buyer journeys, having a very, very strong customer journey in place also plays a really big role in this space. So there are usually challenges when it comes to marketing as a function being focused on generating demand, because of which a lot of companies have resource restrictions and bandwidth restrictions to engage in customer marketing. Any tips on how do you address this effectively? Especially for like a mid-staged maturity company where it's difficult for them to have a function altogether for customer marketing?
Yeah, I don't have a big team, and I've always been scrappy. So just because you might work at a big company doesn't necessarily mean you have a big team. I've also worked at startups where the director of marketing and there's nobody else. So in marketing, so it doesn't necessarily. You can do it with not only limited resources but limited budget. You don't necessarily need to have a lot of money. I think the value of customer marketing is that if you develop relationships with your customers, they're going to want to market for you. They're going to want to create content with you, answer other customer questions. So you can build a whole ambassador influencer marketing program out of your customer marketing efforts. And also, the other value of customer marketing is as you're listening, you're understanding what problems they want to solve. So don't create content or marketing campaigns that are outside of that. Hone in and focus on what the customers really need. That's going to be really valuable. You don't want to just spray and pray. You want to really understand what your customers are going through and create helpful campaigns and content that's going to support them. And the last thing I'll say on that is that when you're working with customers, they can help you with your product. They can help you with a lot of other departments. So the value of customer marketing and selling that in early is really important because you'll get more resources, you'll get more budget, you'll get a bigger team if you're able to upsell the value of customer marketing.
Absolutely, absolutely. I just had another question tying into what you said previously in terms of listening to your customers much more than kind of pushing messages to them. Do you have any framework in mind, or of how do you effectively listen in order to understand what they're really talking about, and then build a program to communicate value accordingly?
Yeah, there's a number of different ways that you could listen to customers. One way is honestly just calling them. I think it's so important that marketers don't work in a vacuum or a silo, that you actually have relationships directly with your customers. And that might mean talking to customer success or sales and asking to be brought into those meetings with customers, and developing those relationships through the organization so that you get that access. Other ways is like surveys, focus groups, going to events where your customers are. So at Salesforce, there are community group meetings or user group meetings where customers run their own events, their own meetings about Salesforce. So go to those kind of events, not to speak, not to pay for it, but to just be a fly on the wall and just listen and learn what customers are saying and how they're saying it. And then lastly would be social media. Use a social media monitoring tool to understand the conversations they're happening, the words they're using, how they're conversing, where they're conversing, when. All of that will be a lot of discovery. I think it's very important in customer marketing to constantly audit and discover and listen. It's not something you do once, it's an ongoing thing.
Absolutely. That's super helpful. We have one question which I'll bring up on stage. It'd be lovely to know your thoughts on this. Is it visible, Amanda?
Yes.
Yep.
How would you track success for customer marketing? Does it vary at different stages of the business through which the customer draws value from the product? Good question. When you're developing your plan, you have to identify what your metrics are that tie to your goals, and then you'll be able to track your success metrics from there. But in general, I would say that you can track success based on increase in your social following, traffic to your website, conversion of your of product information, of content consumption, and even cross-selling. So if they currently have one product and you want them to have another, things like that, and see did they increase their portfolio of products at your company as a result of your customer marketing efforts. I think that when you're looking at website traffic, if it's repeat, it might be an existing customer more than if it's a unique page view where it might be a prospect. So you kind of have to balance what you're looking for. And then I would say there's been some campaigns and efforts we've done that truly show customer success, customer marketing success, because the customers just told us that. We do content with them and thank them for it, and they might come back and say, I was having a bad day, and then we did this together, and I just feel so much better, so much stronger, because I just had this really cool piece of content to share. Or maybe you're sending them a gift, or just having a chat with them, and those kinds of things go a long way. So develop those relationships, and I think that's success right there.
Absolutely, absolutely. I had a follow-up question to this. What are some of the teams that usually customer marketing needs to collaborate with really strongly in order to ensure success as a function? Would it be customer success managers only, or do you have any other thoughts in terms of kind of maintaining those dynamics internally to be successful as a team?
Are you saying tools or people to work with?
People that you work with, like different functions that you work with.
Yeah. So customer marketing needs cross collaboration for sure. You can't do it in a vacuum. I mentioned that when you're initially trying to get those conversations with customers, that it's good to talk to sales and customer success, because they're the ones managing and working with the customers on a regular basis. But other teams to work with, if you have a team that manages marketing and demand gen, or the website, you might be able to uncover information about customers through their activities on your website. So you can look at, Google Analytics or your data there to learn more. But working with your operations team and your broader marketing team, I would also say executives, because they're the ones that get to meet with the C-suite or the key decision makers at the companies. So if you can get to join those meetings, or plan an event where you have these executives meeting up, that's very valuable. Overall, though, I personally like to develop my own relationships and have my own contact to customers. But you have to make sure that you're a good corporate citizen and following the processes at your company as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think you touched upon the next question, a little bit earlier as well, but it'd be great to kind of know a little bit more about what your thoughts are on this in terms of the tactics that fall under customer marketing apart from merely retargeting.
What are some of the tactics that fall under customer marketing apart from retargeting? Oh my gosh, it's a great question. So many. My favorite tactic would be content marketing and content creation. The opportunity to take quotes or tips or photos from customers and work that into your marketing is really successful, because the customers all have their own audience, their own voice. And so when you are sharing on social or without paid media, you're really reaching your own audience, your own followers over and over. But when you're able to tap your customers' audience, and we all have them, everybody on this call has a following, whether it's on Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever your networks are. If you're able to get the customers to amplify your messaging and your content, that's going to make it so much broader. So I definitely recommend content and including them in the content, because then they'll be more likely to share it. Also, that peer-to-peer is so important. So it's one thing if you write an ebook, it's a whole nother thing if the ebook features a bunch of customers, because all their friends and their moms are going to want to read that ebook. The other thing I would say is influencer marketing. So as you learn about your customers, determine who are your super users, who are your ones that are going to talk about your brand the most, ones that are most educated about your product, those that are excited to talk about it with others and educate others. You can build a whole influencer marketing or ambassador program featuring these customers and do so much more with them.
Absolutely, that makes a lot of sense. It can kind of intertwine into like a great PR program as well, right? And when you kind of stitch everything together, it comes off as a great program. Also, I think when customers share your stories where they are featured, it builds in a different level of credibility altogether as a company, right? For yourself, it's no longer you talking about yourself, but your customers talking about how great or how useful your product is and how great time they've had kind of engaging with you. There's one on Salesforce that I'll bring up. Just wanted to know your thoughts on this.
Salesforce is good at partnerships who refer leads. Any learnings from how Salesforce does partnerships with small firms at scale? If you're talking about working with ad agencies, maybe in terms of small firms, I would say if I'm understanding the question correctly, let me know. If not, I think that the value at the brand level is the fact that you can do a lot of your own marketing and be your own manager in terms of coming up with your own timelines, your own goals, and your own plans. I've worked on both the brand side and the agency side, and I really do prefer the brand side for that reason. But I think that there are a lot of great agencies and experts out there that you can tap if you have the budget or you don't have the resources internally to develop those programs and help run those programs for you. There's also a lot of tools out there that will help you with that too. So if you're managing an influencer marketing program or a customer marketing program and you want to have all your customers kind of organized by what they're doing when they last engaged with you, things like that, you can get some influencer marketing tools there. Do you think I answered the question correctly?
I think so. I think Akhil will kind of come back in case the question was. Yeah, he did message. He said the question was more about channel partnerships.
Okay, so working with other vendors in terms of messaging out, like LinkedIn or account-based marketing or different tools like that. If that is that what he means, I think that is a good question in itself. If I'm right, again, tell me if I'm wrong. There are different tools that you can use to kind of connect your products together so that you're able to see the whole journey. So from account-based marketing and targeting that way all the way through to your website to acquisition. But to me, like, customer marketing isn't really about that. And it's not so much about agency or tools or channels, or it's about building relationships. It's about helping, not selling. It's about understanding what's keeping your customers up at night and helping them resolve those issues. And that comes down to good old-fashioned relationship building with your customers.
Got it. Akhil, just checking if that answers the question that you had posed. Happy to kind of dive into a deeper conversation in case there's something else you wanted to cover as well. There's one that I had in terms of we have quite a few folks who are founders and in the mid marketing stages. Would love to know how, from an actionable standpoint, how can you go ahead to build a customer marketing function with limited resources, but more from an actionable and strategy turning into actionable standpoint. If I have to begin my customer marketing function today.
Yeah, so you can start with building a customer stories team or a person dedicated to customer stories. I think that is a very valuable place to start because customer stories help you throughout the organization. They help the AEs when you're selling. They help other customers learn about how their peers are using your product. So externally, they're great. You can gate them for lead gen opportunities. They're great. Customer stories are great for events. So you have a customer talking about you at your event or at other events. And they also are just a great opportunity for additional content. So one customer story, I love to slice and dice that into lots of different things. So you have to prove the value of the customer story. And those are so important. And they also take a lot of time and effort to build because you need to interview the customer, get the story, write it, put it in all those formats, get all the approvals internally and externally and all those things. So that is a full-time job in itself, but it's also the core of what customer marketing is or how it can start. So you might want to start there.
Got it. That really helps. Also wanted to check in on when you kind of go ahead with building your customer marketing team, what are some of the skill sets that you look out for, if somebody needs to hire a customer marketer today or kind of start a role altogether, right? Any skill sets that kind of really come out that you think is important?
Yeah, there's definitely soft skills and hard skills there. From a hard skill standpoint, it's all about being able to write. So you have to be able to write the story. I like to look for someone who maybe has a journalism background, because then that person would be good at interviewing the customer and really like pulling the story out. Also, somebody who is just good at getting the work done. They can not only come up with what is the strategy, or maybe they're working with you on the strategy, but they can actually take that customer story and make it a slide for AEs, a video, a ebook, a blog post, like all the different assets, and do the most that they can with it. From a soft skills standpoint, someone who's good at relationship building and someone who is patient and understanding, you're not going to get on the phone with a customer every time you try. They have their own job and their own lives. So you have to balance that. You have to build the relationship. You have to give them adequate timelines for review. You have to come up with ways to grow and nurture the relationship, so you're not just reaching out for your own benefit. Things like that. So somebody who is able to follow up, but not in a pushy way, somebody who can see the big picture for the customer and be understanding of the customer. And I think,
yeah.
And I think someone who's strategic as well. I know it's hard to be strategic and executional, but you can start with someone who's executional, but you can tell that that's like a growth opportunity for them, that they want to get strategic. And then you can kind of mentor them into how to build that strategy and get out of the tactical place.
Absolutely. I think Parth has a follow-up question to this, in terms of what's in it for the customer to help you amplify your message and become advocates, and how do you incentivize them, and even if you should incentivize them in the first place?
Yeah, that's a great question. Some customers are going to be your biggest fans, and they'll do it just because they want to, because they love your brand and they want to evangelize and be a part of it. There's a customer that always answers a ton of questions on the Trailblazer community, and somebody asked him one day, like, why do you answer like thousands of questions? And he said, are you wearing a watch? If someone asks you what time it is, wouldn't you tell them? Like, if you have that information available, wouldn't you share it? Wouldn't you be interested in talking to other customers or the brand? Not every customer is like that, obviously. And I think it's much harder with the C-suite or somebody who, is running a big team. So there's definitely ways to incentivize them, or just get them excited. One of the ways is to make it super easy. And this is also how you get them to amplify your message. So use existing content. Let's say they spoke at an event for you, or let's say you did a customer story. Take that existing content and repurpose it so that you don't have to go back to them for another interview. Or when you're doing your initial outreach, let them know all the things you want to do at once. We want to do a video, a blog post, a slide, this, that, the other thing. And it's going to be all within this one ask, so that the interview can do the bulk of the work for all of those pieces. So make it really easy to build it and share it. Then I think it's important to thank them. So maybe after they're done, you send them swag, or you really put them up on a pedestal internally and externally, really show that you appreciate them. You could give them a special accolade, or if you don't have money for actual gifts, you can just do, or they can't accept gifts, you can do other accolades. And then lastly, I would say that you don't want to incentivize them for the wrong reasons. So paying them, or from a SaaS perspective, I'd say paying them, or sending them all these gifts and things like that ahead of time. All of that is potentially getting them involved for the wrong reasons, and that's not necessarily the right approach.
Absolutely. I had one last question regarding what your thoughts are about some of the North Star metrics that you should go behind when you look at customer marketing as a function, and what you think are some of the vanity metrics that you should ideally deprioritize?
Yeah, I think we touched on this a little bit earlier, but I would say vanity metrics could really be your increase in brand mentions and social following. So the more you're getting mentions on social and engagement, the more you know that people are interested in your brand and all of that. Also, repeat traffic to your website. Then you know that the same type of folks are coming to your site doing various things. Look at the content results that you're generating. How many customer stories did you do? How many AEs used it? How did the story perform on YouTube versus Twitter versus your blog? Look at all of the views and engagements you got around that. And if you're gating your customer story, then there's obviously the opportunity with lead gen and conversion from that. Because customer marketing markets to customers, but there's also the potential to market to prospects with it, because they're learning what peers are experiencing.
Absolutely, absolutely, Amanda. I think we are like right about on time. I'd really like to thank you for joining us in today's session. Definitely given me a different perspective towards customer marketing, and I'd like to thank everybody who attended as well. Really relevant and really nice questions to kind of help us expand our thoughts in terms of customer marketing as well. Thanks, Amanda, for joining in. I hope you had a great time.
I did. Thank you for joining too. And you can find me on Twitter if you have any other questions. And thanks for having me today.
Thanks. Wonderful. We'll note down if there are any other additional questions, and I'll probably send that. We'll tag you on the tweet so we can answer that directly at your end.
Sounds good.
Cool. Thanks, Amanda. We'll catch up soon. Hope to join in for other sessions in case you find anything interesting. We'd love to have you there.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.